Cue intro.
I've got one that can see.
Logic before authority. Hi guys, this is Daniel Alexander Cannon here on Logic Before Authority. Today we're going to take a look at the Orson Welles. Let me show you. The Orson Welles 1938 radio drama that was called The War of the Worlds. And, of course, the general subject matter has been something that I've been dealing with for quite a few shows and also going back quite a few years, knowing that at some point that they are going to try to create a holographic illusion in the heavens above. And so I thought today we would take a listen to the radio broadcast. And for y'all guys, I'm going to play it all the way from the beginning. And I may stop it some possibly along the way, and have to make some commentary, you might say. There's a point in the very beginning. It makes it pretty clear that this is a drama, a radio drama broadcast kind of thing. But then after about 4 or 5 minutes, you get into here, and if you were back in the day listening to this on the radio, if you didn't hear the first 4 or 5 minutes, you wouldn't know that it was a dramatized radio show, a stage act. So it's said that quite a few people died over this, and it caused quite the stir in supposedly, a lot of places. Every place that heard it, the emergency lines lit up. People were flipping out and thinking the world was over with and all this kind of crazy stuff, right? You can imagine, compared to now, how naive people would have been back then. And of course, we're still naive, whether you know it or not. I found the date and the time that they aired this. They aired it at 8 p.m. on October the 30th, basically like Halloween, in 1938. And, I can't help it. I just find it curious. Of course, they chose something so, you might say, wicked to broadcast on live radio, basically right at Halloween. And, but it's not just about the so-called holiday of Halloween and being tied with that. It's about the time of year when they know according to a lot of things I've read, that around Halloween is when like the veil is thinnest, okay? And supernatural things tend to happen, and you can manifest things a little easier. So anyways, without getting too much into that, let's take a look, or shall we say more of a listen to this. And I see Super Dave and Super Mike in the comments there, and all y'all other guys, Robin and James, and everyone here. Thank you for coming and hanging out with me. I see James, like I said, and Robin and Super Dave and Super Mike Smith, and let's see what we see. You know how I look at things a little bit different, so it may be interesting as we go through this. So here we go. I think I've got the audio set correctly so we can hear it.
The Columbia Broadcasting System and its affiliated stations present Orson Welles and the Mercury Theater on the Air in The War of the Worlds by H.G. Wells.
Yeah, what you said, Revelation show. Yeah, they had the minds completely of people back then. The doctors were God, and the radio station was God. And yeah, exactly. So you got to say now, well, who do they look at as being the authority now? Who are they listening to now? I think we kind of know.
Ladies and gentlemen, the director of the Mercury Theater and star of these broadcasts, Orson Welles.
We know now that in the early years of the 20th century, this world was being watched closely by intelligences greater than man's, yet as mortal as his own. We know now that as human beings busied themselves about their various concerns, they were scrutinized and studied, perhaps almost as narrowly as a man with a microscope might scrutinize the transient creatures that swarm and multiply in a drop of water. With infinite complacence, people went to and fro over the earth about their little affairs, serene in the assurance of their dominion over this small, spinning fragment of solar driftwood, which by chance or design, man has inherited out of the dark mystery of time and space. Yet across...
Of course, part of this, they're selling the concept of that, the universe concept of that we're on a ball of dirt spinning around the sun and moving at 666,000 miles an hour, and that whole dream world that NASA, which means deceive in Hebrew, created. They're pushing that, and ultimately, I'm sure this is pushing the narrative of the potential of an invasion that would come one day, along with all the thousands of movies that have done it.
An immense ethereal gulf, minds that are to our minds as ours are to the beasts in the jungle, intellects vast, cool, and unsympathetic, regarded this earth with envious eyes and slowly and surely drew their plans against us. In the 39th year of the 20th century came the Great Disillusionment. Near the end of October, business was better. War scare was over. More men were back at work. Sales were picking up. This particular evening, October 30th, the Crosley service estimated that 32 million people were listening in on radios.
Wow, not much change in temperature. A slight atmospheric disturbance of undetermined origin is reported over Nova Scotia, causing a low-pressure area to move down rather rapidly over the northeastern states, bringing a forecast of rain accompanied by winds of light gale force. Maximum temperature 66, minimum 48. This weather report comes to you from the Government Weather Bureau. We take you now to the Meridian Room in the Hotel Park Plaza in downtown New York, where you will be entertained by the music of Raymond Raquello and his orchestra.
So this is where it kind of transitions to being an average radio broadcast, and if you were to come in, well, this is what you would have heard.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. From the Meridian Room in the Park Plaza Hotel in New York City, we bring you the music of Raymond Raquello and his orchestra. The touch of the Spanish, Raymond Raquello leads off with La Capacita.
Ladies and gentlemen, we interrupt our program of dance music to bring you a special bulletin from the Intercontinental Radio News. At 20 minutes before 8 Central Time, Professor Farrell of the Mount Jennings Observatory, Chicago, Illinois, reports observing several explosions of incandescent gas occurring at regular intervals on the planet Mars. The spectroscope indicates the gas to be hydrogen and moving toward the Earth with enormous velocity. Professor Pearson of the observatory at Princeton confirms Farrell's observation and describes the phenomenon as, quote, like a jet of blue flame shot from a gun, unquote. We now return you to the music of Raymond Raquello, playing for you in the Meridian Room of the Park Plaza Hotel, situated in downtown New York.
And now a tune that never loses favor, the ever-popular Stardust, Raymond Raquello and his orchestra.
And hello to Karen, too, as well. Good to see you here, Karen.
Ladies and gentlemen, following on the news given in our bulletin a moment ago, the Government Meteorological Bureau has requested the large observatories of the country to keep an astronomical watch on any further disturbances occurring on the planet Mars. Due to the unusual nature of this occurrence, we have arranged an interview with a noted astronomer, Professor Pearson, who will give us his views on this event. In a few moments, we will take you to the Princeton Observatory at Princeton, New Jersey. We return you until then to the music of Raymond Raquello and his orchestra.
I may see about sparing us some of the music, doing little 5-second jump forwards.
We are ready now to take you to the Princeton Observatory at Princeton, where Carl Phillips, our commentator, will interview Professor Richard Pearson, famous astronomer. We take you now to Princeton, New Jersey.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Carl Phillips speaking to you from the observatory at Princeton. I'm standing in a large semicircular room, pitch black except for an oblong split in the ceiling. Through this opening, I can see a sprinkling of stars that cast a kind of frosty glow over the intricate mechanism of the huge telescope. Ticking sound you hear, vibration of the clockwork. Professor Pearson stands directly above me on a small platform, peering through the giant lens. I ask you to be patient, ladies and gentlemen, during any delay that may arise during our interview. Besides the ceaseless watch of the heavens, Professor Pearson may be interrupted by telephone or other communications.
Hey, Diana, good to see you here.
During this period, he is in constant touch with the astronomical centers of the world. Professor, may I begin our questions?
Any time, Mr. Phillips.
Professor, would you please tell our radio audience exactly what you see as you observe the planet Mars through your telescope?
Nothing unusual at the moment, Mr. Phillips. A red disk swimming in the blue sea. Transverse stripes across the disk. Quite distinct now because Mars happens to be at the point nearest the Earth in opposition, as we call it.
In your opinion, What do these transverse stripes signify, Professor Pearson?
Not canals, I can assure you, Mr. Phillips.
Please.
Although that's the popular conjecture of those who imagine Mars to be inhabited. From a scientific viewpoint, the stripes are merely the result of atmospheric conditions peculiar to the planet.
Then you're quite convinced, as a scientist, that living intelligence as we know it does not exist on Mars?
The chances against it are
Hey, Daryl, good to see you.
1,000 to 1.
And yet, how do you account for these gas eruptions occurring on the surface of the planet at regular intervals?
Phillips, I cannot account for it.
And by the way, Professor, for the benefit of our listeners, how far is Mars from the Earth?
Approximately 40 million miles.
Well, that seems a safe enough distance. Just a moment, ladies and gentlemen. Someone has just handed Professor Pearson a message. While he reads it, let me remind you that we are speaking to you from the observatory in Princeton, New Jersey, where we are interviewing the world-famous astronomer, Professor Pearson. One moment, please. Professor Pearson has passed me a message which he has just received. Professor, may I read the message to the listening audience?
Certainly.
Ladies and gentlemen, I shall read you a wire addressed to Professor Pearson from Dr. Gray of the Natural History Museum, New York. Quote, 9:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Seismograph registered shock of almost earthquake intensity occurring within a radius of 20 miles of Princeton. Please investigate. Signed, Lloyd Gray, Chief of Astronomical Division. Unquote. Professor Pearson, could this occurrence possibly have something to do with the disturbances observed on the planet Mars?
Hardly, Mr. Phillips. This is probably a meteorite of unusual size. Its arrival at this particular time is merely a coincidence. However, we shall conduct a search as soon as daylight permits.
Thank you, Professor. Ladies and gentlemen, for the past 10 minutes, we've been speaking to you from the Observatory of Princeton, bringing you a special interview with Professor Pearson, noted astronomer. This is Carl Phillips speaking. We are returning you now to our New York studio.
Ladies and gentlemen, here is the latest bulletin from the Intercontinental Radio News. Toronto, Canada. Professor Morse of Macmillan University reports observing a total of 3 explosions on the planet Mars between the hours of 7:45 p.m. and 9:20 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This confirms earlier reports received from American observatories. Now, nearer home, comes a special bulletin from Trenton, New Jersey. It is reported that at 8:50 p.m., a huge flaming object, believed to be a meteorite, fell on a farm in the neighborhood of Grover's Mill, New Jersey, 22 miles from Trenton. The flash in the sky was visible within a radius of several hundred miles. The noise of the impact was heard as far north as Elizabeth. We have dispatched a special mobile unit to the scene, and we'll have our commentator, Carl Phillips, give you a word picture of the scene as soon as he can reach there from Princeton. In the meantime, we take you to the Hotel Martinet in Brooklyn, where Bobby Millett and his orchestra are offering a program of dance music. We take you now to Grover's Mill, New Jersey.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Carl Phillips again, out at the Wilmot Farm, Grover's Mill, New Jersey. Professor Pearson and myself made the 11 miles from Princeton in 10 minutes. Well, I hardly know where to begin. Painting you a word picture of a strange scene before my eyes, but nothing out of the modern Arabian Nights. Well, I just got here. I hadn't had a chance to look around yet. I guess that's it. Yes, I guess that's the thing directly in front of me. Half buried in a vast pit. Must have struck with terrific force. The ground is covered with splinters of the tree. It must have struck on its way down. But I can see the object itself doesn't look very much like a meteor. At least not the meteors I've seen. It looks more like a huge cylinder. Has the diameter of, what would you say, Professor Pearson?
What's that?
What would you say, what's the diameter of this?
About 30 yards.
About 30 yards. The metal on the sheath is, well, I've never seen anything like it. The color is sort of yellowish white. The curious spectators now are pressing close to the object in spite of the efforts of the police to keep them back.
Well, they got there quick, didn't they?
Getting in front of my line of vision. Would you mind staying one side, please? While it is taking the crowd back. Here's Mr. Wilmot, owner of the barn here. He may have some interesting facts to add. Mr. Wilmot, would you please tell the radio audience as much as you remember of this rather unusual visitor that dropped in your backyard? Step closer, please. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Mr. Willis.
I was listening to the radio.
Closer, louder, please.
Pardon me?
Louder, please, closer.
I was listening to the radio and kind of drowsy. The professor fellow was talking about Mars. Well, I was half chosen, half.
Yes, Mr. Willis, and then what happened?
Well, as I was saying, I was listening to the radio, kind of halfway.
Yes, Mr. Willis, and then you saw something.
Not first off. I heard something.
And what did you hear?
A hissing sound like this. Kind of like a 4th of July rocket.
Yes, then what?
I turned my head out the window and would have sworn I was asleep and dreaming.
Yes?
Seen a kind of greenish streak and then zingo. Up and smacked the ground. Knocked me clear out of my chair.
Well, were you frightened, Mr. Willis?
Well, I ain't quite sure. Reckon I was kind of riled.
Thank you, Mr. Wilmot. Thank you very much.
You want me to
No, that's quite right. That's plenty. Ladies and gentlemen, you've just heard Mr. Wilmot, owner of the farm where this thing has fallen. I wish I could convey the atmosphere, the background of this fantastic scene. Hundreds of cars are parked in a field in back of us, and the police are trying to rope off the roadway leading into the farm, but it's no use. They're breaking right through. Cars' headlights throw an enormous spotlight on the pit where the object's half buried. Now, some of the more daring stories now are eventually near the edge. The cigarettes stand out against the metal table. One man wants to touch the thing. He's having an argument with the policeman. Now, the policeman wins. Now, ladies and gentlemen, there's something I haven't mentioned in all this excitement, but it's becoming more distinct. Perhaps you've caught it already on your radio. Listen, please.
Keep in mind, when this time of the year, near the beginning of winter, okay, heading in towards that area, that the angle at which, the height and angle at which Starlink satellites are flying at, I've noticed now for the last 2 years that this time of the year you will be able to see them, and they will come across the horizon, and when they get almost repeatedly in the same spot of the sky, they will keep disappearing in that same spot. So what we're kind of being deceived with these Starlink things. Now, there, as any of you know, that I've said many times, that there are real angel orbs that are out there. I've seen them up close. I've seen them at distances. I've seen hundreds of them. But there came a point where I had to discern between, am I seeing Starlink or am I seeing angel orb? And there's reason, I'm sure, as to why they're doing this. I mean, they literally named it Starlink, another star being another word for angel, at least according to the Bible. And there's a deception there going on. So, Diana, when you're seeing those, if you're noticing that they're coming and they're following kind of a pattern and they disappear in the same basic location, that would highly likely be Starlink satellites, as you want to call them, whether they got balloons hold them up there or not. But still, they're up there.
Do you hear it? Curious humming sound that seems to come from inside the object. I'll move the microphone nearer. Here. Now, we're not more than 25 feet away. Can you hear it now? Professor Pearson?
Yes?
Can you tell us the meaning of that scraping noise inside the thing?
Possibly the unequal cooling of its surface.
I say, do you still think it's a meteor, Professor?
What thing? Metal casing is definitely extraterrestrial. Not found on this Earth. Friction with the Earth's atmosphere usually tears holes in a meteorite. This thing is smooth. Hey, Flint.
Something's happening. Ladies and gentlemen, this is terrific. This end of the thing is beginning to flake off. The top is beginning to rotate like a screw, and the thing must be hollow. Move it! Look at that! Hey, keep those men back! Keep those idiots back! Take off! Stop moving! Ladies and gentlemen, this is the most terrifying thing
Your best chance of seeing a legitimate real angel orb closer up is to go to a large body of water and sit and wait just after the sun has gone down as it's getting dark. Stay there until it's fully, completely dark. You'll need to probably be there an hour, hour and a half. And it doesn't mean one's going to show up the first night you're there or even the first week you're there. But if you go there and you pray and you ask for Father to send an angel and allow you to see his light, it's highly likely going to happen. The other place, you got the water's edge, and then the other place is on mountaintops. Now, they do appear any and everywhere, but in concentrations, and I don't know why, but even biblically, they were on the water's edge and they were on the top of mountains. Okay?
I don't know what wait a minute. Someone's calling someone or something. I can see turning out of that black hole two luminous discs. The eyes, it might be a face, might be all the heavens. Something wriggling out of the shadow like a gray snake. Now it's another one, and another one, and another one. They look like tentacles to me. I can see the thing's body now. It's large as a bear. It's glistening. It's like wet leather. Face.
Changing directions is not something Starlink normally does. So stopping in the sky, blinking, maybe, maybe not. Changing directions, that would be something different. Yeah.
Gentlemen could describe it like I finally forced myself to keep looking at it. It's so awful. Its eyes are black and they gleam like a serpent in the mouth. It's a kind of V shape with saliva dripping from its rimless lips. It seems to quiver and pulsate, and the monster or whatever it is can hardly move. It seems weighed down by possibly gravity or something. The thing's rising up now, and the crowd falls back. It seems plenty. That's most extraordinary experience, ladies and gentlemen. I can't find words.
Well, again, Diana, the only ones I'm referring to that I've determined are Starlink are the ones that about an hour to 2 hours after sunset, you'll start seeing them coming up from the horizon. You'll see them, it's like they're further away and they're coming closer and they get brighter and brighter and they keep the same pace, the same speed. And then if you've got a big enough horizon, you'll see them when they get basically at a 90-degree angle from straight up. That is when they will disappear. If that, which you've already said, that's not only what you're seeing, so I understand that. But for anybody else that's listening, if they come from the horizon and they get brighter and brighter, and then it even can kind of flash a little bit sometimes, but then if they get basically 90 degrees straight up in the sky, and then they just disappear, and that starts happening over and over, you're likely looking at Starlink. But I've seen a lot of angels even lately, so they're out there. They're always out there. We just can't always see them.
Well, I'll pull this microphone with me as I talk. I'll have to stop the description so I can take a new position. Hold on, will you please? I'll be right back in a minute.
We are bringing you an eyewitness account of what's happening on the Wilmot Farm, Groversville, New Jersey. We now return you to Carl Phillips at Groversville.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I? Ladies and gentlemen, here I am, back of the stone wall that joins Mr. Wilmot's garden. From here, I get a sweep of the whole scene. I'll give you every detail as long as I can talk and as long as I can see. More state police have arrived. They're drawing up a cordon in front of the pit. About 30 of them. No need to push the crowd back now. They're willing to keep their distance. The captain's conferring with someone. Can't quite see who. Yes, I believe it's Professor Pearson. Yes, it is. Now they've parted, and the professor moves around one side, studying the object while the captain and two policemen advance with something in their hands. I can see it now. It's a white handkerchief tied to a pole. Flag of truce. Those preachers know what that means, what anything means. Wait a minute, something's happening. Some shape is rising out of the pit. And they make out a small beam of light against a mirror. What's that? There's a jet of flame in a mirror and exploited the bastard men. He strikes them head on. Lord, they're turning the flame. He's the woods of fire. The gas mag, flames all over the field, spreading everywhere. Coming this way now, about 20 yards to my right.
Ladies and gentlemen, due to circumstances beyond our control, we are unable to continue the broadcast from Grover's Mill. Evidently, there is some difficulty with our field transmission. However, we will return to that point at the earliest opportunity. In the meantime, we have a late bulletin from San Diego, California. Professor Indelkoffer, speaking at a dinner of the California Astronomical Society, expressed the opinion that the explosions on Mars are undoubtedly nothing more than severe volcanic disturbances on the surface of the planet. We continue now with our piano interlude.
Ladies and gentlemen, I've just been handed a message that came in from Grover's Mill by telephone. Just one moment, please. At least 40 people, including 6 state troopers, lie dead in a field east of the village of Grover's Mill. Their bodies burned and distorted beyond all possible recognition. The next voice you hear will be that of Brigadier General Montgomery Smith, commander of the state militia at Trenton, New Jersey.
I have been requested by the governor of New Jersey to place the counties of Mercer and Middlesex as far west as Princeton and east to Jamesburg under martial law. No one will be permitted to enter this area except by special pass issued by state or military authorities. 4 companies of state militia are proceeding from Trenton to Grover's Mill and will aid in the evacuation of homes within the range of military operations. Thank you.
You have just been listening to General Montgomery Smith, commanding the state militia at Trenton. In the meantime, further details of the catastrophe at Grover's Mill are coming in. The strange creatures, after unleashing their deadly assault, crawled back in their pit and made no attempt to prevent the efforts of the firemen to recover the bodies and extinguish the fire. The combined fire departments of Mercer County are fighting the flames which menace the entire countryside. We have been unable to establish any contact with our mobile unit at Grover's Mill, but we hope to be able to return you there at the earliest possible moment. In the meantime, we take you to... Just one moment, please. Ladies and gentlemen, I have just been informed that we have finally established communication with an eyewitness of the tragedy. Professor Pearson has been located at a farmhouse near Grover's Mill, where he has established an emergency observation post. As a scientist, he will give you his explanation of the calamity. The next voice you hear will be that of Professor Pearson, brought to you by direct wire. Professor Pearson.
Of the creatures in the rocket cylinder at Grover's Mill, I can give you no authoritative information either as to their nature, their origin, or their purposes here on Earth. Of their destructive instrument, I might venture some conjectural explanation. Want of a better term, I shall refer to the mysterious weapon as a heat ray. All too evident that these creatures have scientific knowledge far in advance of our own. It's my guess that in some way they are able to generate an intense heat in a chamber of practically absolute non-conductivity. This intense heat they project in a parallel beam against any object they choose by means of a polished parabolic mirror of unknown composition. Much as the mirror of a lighthouse projects a beam of light. That is my conjecture of the origin of the heat ray.
Thank you, Professor Pearson. Ladies and gentlemen, here is a bulletin from Trenton. It is a brief statement informing us that the charred body of Carl Phillips has been identified in the Trenton Hospital. Now here's another bulletin from Washington, D.C. The Office of the Director of the National Red Cross reports 10 units of Red Cross emergency workers have been assigned to the headquarters of the state militia, stationed outside of Grover's Mill, New Jersey. Here's a bulletin from State Police, Princeton Junction. The fires at Grover's Mill and vicinity are now under control. Scouts report all quiet in the pit, and there is no sign of life appearing from the mouth of the cylinder. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we have a special statement from Mr. Harry McDonald, Vice President in charge of operations.
We have received a request from the state militia of Trenton to place at their disposal our entire broadcasting facilities. In view of the gravity of the situation, believing that radio has a responsibility to serve in the public interest at all times, we are turning over our facilities to the state militia at Trenton.
We take you now to the field headquarters of the state militia near Grover's Mill, New Jersey.
This is Captain Lansing of the Signal Corps, attached to the state militia, now engaged in military operations in the vicinity of Grover's Mill. Situation arising from the reported presence of certain individuals of unidentified nature is now under complete control. A cylindrical object which lies in a pit directly below our position, surrounded on all sides by 8 battalions of infantry. Without heavy field pieces, but adequately armed with rifles and machine guns. All cause for alarm, if such cause ever existed, is now entirely unjustified. Things, whatever they are, do not even venture to poke their heads above the pit. Their hiding place plainly in the glare of the searchlights here. With all their reported resources, these creatures can scarcely stand up against heavy machine gun fire. Anyway, it's an interesting outing for the troops. I can make out their khaki uniforms crossing back and forth in front of the lights. Looks almost like a real war. There appears to be some slight smoke in the woods bordering the Millstone River, probably fire started by campers. Well, you ought to see some action soon. One of the companies is deploying on the left flank. A quick thrust and it'll all be over. Wait a minute, I see something on top of the cylinder. No, it's nothing but a shadow. Now the troops are on the edge of the Wilmot Farm. 7,000 armed men closing in on an old metal tube. A tub, rather. Well, wait, that wasn't a shadow. It's something moving. Solid metal, kind of a shield-like affair rising up out of the cylinder. Going higher and higher. But it's standing on legs, actually rearing up on a sort of metal framework. Now it's reaching above the trees and the searchlights are on it. Hold on.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have a grave announcement to make. Incredible as it may seem, both the observations of science and the evidence of our eyes lead to the inescapable assumption that those strange beings who landed in the Jersey farmlands tonight are the vanguard of an invading army from the planet Mars. The battle which took place tonight at Grover Mills has ended in one of the most startling defeats ever suffered by an army in modern times. 7,000 men armed with rifles and machine guns pitted against a single fighting machine of the invaders from Mars. 120 known survivors. The rest strewn over the battle area from Grover's Mill to Plainsboro. Fresh.
So in just like a minute, they had 7,000 men coming up, or 700, what was it? And they're just all wiped out, and they have already counted them, and there's only 120 left. And this all took place in the last 45 seconds. But yet, people are and were so naive that they actually bought this. But then we look at today, and what are people still buying? Complete delusion. And even though they can see that there's delusion, they will defend it because they've been programmed through psychological operations to defend what they've been programmed to believe. See, when they have these events where, like during 9/11 and many other events, like the Kirk event, they will create a trauma event that causes people to emotionally open up, and then what they do is they immediately throw in the lie or the deception or the thing that they want people to believe and defend. Like with 9/11. 9/11 happened, the buildings fell down, and within a matter of a couple of hours, what did Bush say? We know who did it. It's the terrorist. And we know where they're at. In caves, in Afghanistan and Iraq and so on. So then we're going to war with the terrorists, right? And how long and how many people are still defending that lie, even though it's clearly a lie? But they were psychologically broken that day when those things happened. Some people are more susceptible to these breaks and implantation of beliefs through the use of trauma to do it. And yeah, to y'all guys talking about seeing the orbs and things in the sky, patience is a virtue.
And trampled to death under the metal feet of the monster, or burned to cinders by its heat ray. The monster is now in control of the middle section of New Jersey and has effectively cut the state through its center. Communication lines are down from Pennsylvania to the Atlantic Ocean. Railroad tracks are torn and service from New York to Philadelphia discontinued, except routing some of the trains through Allerton and Phoenixville. Highways to the north, south, and west are clogged with frantic human traffic. Police and army reserves are unable to control the mad flight. By morning, the fugitives will have swelled Philadelphia, Camden, and Trenton. Is estimated to twice their normal population. Martial law prevails throughout New Jersey and eastern Pennsylvania. At this time, we take you to Washington for a special broadcast on the national emergency. The Secretary of the Interior.
Citizens of the nation, I shall not try to conceal the gravity of the situation that confronts the country, nor the concern of your government in protecting the life.
So here comes the implantation of the lie. See? President, now we're at 26 minutes and 9 seconds since the whole invasion started. They've done went out and found one of the ships. They've done seen the ships launching off of Mars. They've done all of this, and the president's on the radio. Let's see what he has to say, because I don't know, but I think he's going to implant something in the psyche, is what this is showing an example of.
Lives and property of its people. However, I wish to impress upon you, private citizens and public officials, all of you, the urgent need of calm and resourceful action. Fortunately, this formidable enemy is still confined to a comparatively small area, and we may place our faith in the military forces to keep them there. In the meantime, placing our faith in God, we must continue the performance of our duties, each and every one of us, so that we may confront this destructive adversary with a nation united, courageous, and consecrated to the preservation of human supremacy on this earth. I thank you.
You have just heard the Secretary of the Interior speaking from Washington.
So that weren't too far off of what Bush said, was it? We've got to all come together. You're either with us or with the terrorists. You know, we've got to all cut together. We've all got to put our efforts in. We've got to fight this enemy that just landed 39 minutes or 26 minutes ago, whatever it was. 26 minutes ago. Yeah, this is how they do it. Trauma, great trauma, and then immediate deception planted in it in order to implant the lie in the emotional, susceptible mind.
Bulletins too numerous to read are piling up in the studio here. We're informed that the central portion of New Jersey is blacked out from radio communication due to the effect of the heat ray upon power lines and electrical equipment. Here is a special bullet from New York. Cables have been received from English, French, and German scientific bodies offering assistance. Astronomers report continued gas outbursts at regular intervals on the planet Mars. The majority voiced the opinion that the enemy will be reinforced by additional rocket machines. There have been several attempts made to locate Professor Pearson of Princeton, who has observed Martians at close range. It is feared he was lost in the recent battle. Langham Field, Virginia. Scouting planes report 3 Martian machines visible above treetops, moving north toward Somerville with population fleeing ahead of them. The heat ray is not in use, although advancing at express train speed. Invaders pick their way carefully. They seem to be making a conscious effort to avoid destruction of cities and countryside. However, they stop to uproot power lines, bridges, and railroad tracks. Their apparent objective is to crush resistance, paralyze communication, and disorganize human society. Here is a bulletin from Basking Ridge, New Jersey. Coon hunters have stumbled on a second cylinder similar to the first, embedded in the Great Swamp 20 miles south of Morristown. Army field pieces are proceeding before the cylinder can be opened and the fighting machine rigged. They're taking up a position in the foothills of Watchung Mountains. Another bulletin from Langham Field, Virginia. Scouting planes report enemy machines now 3 in number, increasing speed northward, kicking over houses and trees in their evident haste to form a conjunction with their allies south of Morristown. Machines also sighted by telephone operator east of Middlesex within 10 miles of Plainfield. Here's a bulletin from Win.
Well, this guy was more informed than the president himself, right? He just got the finger on everything that's going on in every country and every place all at once. And yet people believed this. And yet people believed 9/11. They believed the Kirk. They believed Sandy Hook. They believed all these things. Not every person, and highly likely not us, but the majority of the population. It's no wonder the world has been able to be ruled over so easily.
Plainfield, Long Island. A fleet of Army bombers carrying heavy explosives flying north in pursuit of enemy. Scouting planes act as guides. They keep the speeding enemy in sight. Just a moment, please, ladies and gentlemen. We've run special wires to the artillery line and adjacent villages to give you direct reports from the zone of the advancing enemy. First, we take you to the battery of the 22nd Field Artillery, located in the Watchung Mountains.
Dude, did you order the new iPhone 17 Pro? Got it from Verizon, the best 5G network in America. It looks so good.
You look the same.
But with this camera, everything looks better, especially me.
You haven't changed your hair in 50.
Range 32 meters. 32 meters. Direction 39 degrees. 39 degrees. Fire! 40 out to the right, sir. Hip range 31 meters. 31 meters. Direction 37 degrees. 37 degrees. Fire! Hit the disciple of one of them. Stop. The others are trying to repair it. Get the range. It's 30 meters. 30 meters. Section 27 degrees. 27 degrees. Fire. It's a Lancer. Letting off the smoke. What is it? Smoke, sir. Moving this way. Close to the ground. Moving fast. Put on gas mask. Get ready to fire. Hip to 24 meters. 24 meters. Projection 24 degrees. 24 degrees. Fire. 10 feet, sir. Close coming near. Get the range. Meters. 23 meters. 23 meters. 22. 22. 23.
Army bombing plane P-843 off Bayonne, New Jersey. Lieutenant Vogt, commanding 8 bombers, reporting to Commander Fairfax, Langham Field. This is Vogt reporting to Commander Fairfax, Langham Field. Enemy tripod machines now in sight. Reinforced by 3 machines from the Morristown cylinder. 6 altogether. 1 machine partially crippled. Believed hit by shell from Army gun in Watchung Mountains. Guns now appear silent. A heavy black fog hanging close to the earth of extreme density, nature unknown. No sign of heat ray. Enemy now turns east, crossing Passaic River into the Jersey marshes. Now straddles the Pulaski Skyway. Evident objective is New York City. And pushing down a high-tension power station. Machines are close together now, and we're ready to attack. Planes circling, ready to strike. Thousand yards, and we'll be over the first. Eight 800 yards. 600. 400. 200. There they go.
Giant arm raised. Green flash. Spraying us with flame. 2,000 feet. Engines are giving out. No chance to release bombs. Only one thing left. Jump on them. Find it all. We're diving on the first one. Now the engine's gone. Hey.
Did this say on New Jersey?
I liked your comment there. Pull it back up real quick. Said a spy is a spy, a thief is a thief, but a liar, I would say it this way, but a liar is the highest paid person in the country and the most admired. Think about actors. What are they? What are they? They're professional deceivers, professional liars. That's all they are. And they're the most respected. People clamor to get near to them. They give them millions of dollars to work their wicked ways. But someone who speaks the truth, like me, nearly has to go hungry. Isn't that amazing? This is the world we live in.
Calling Langham Field. Bayonne, New Jersey, calling Langham Field. Come in, please.
Langham Field, go ahead.
8 Army bombers in engagement with enemy tripod machines over Jersey Flats. Engines incapacitated by heat ray. All crashed. One enemy machine destroyed. Enemy now discharging heavy black smoke in direction of
Newark, New Jersey. Newark, New Jersey. Warning. Poisonous black smoke pouring in from Jersey marshes. Reach of South Street. Gas mask useless. Urge populations move into open spaces. Automobiles use routes 7, 23, 24. Avoid congested areas. Smoke now spreading over Raymond Boulevard. Two-X-2-L calling CQ, 2X-2L calling CQ, 2X-2L calling 8X3R, come in please. 8X3R coming back at 2X2L. How's reception? How's reception? Okay, please. Where are you, 8X3R? What's the matter? Where are you?
I'm speaking from the broadcasting building.
I suppose that's why they call it when actors are reading their lines. It's very close to the word lie. Their lines. It's all right there, in the words, spelling, cast, like the cast members, casting, the broadcasting, casting of spells, the television. They didn't completely lie. They just didn't tell us the truth. Well, and then they lied, and they deceived, and they killed, and they depopulated, and they poisoned people so they couldn't have children. Someone who cured diseases. Yet, what's the truth? The opposite.
I'm speaking from the roof of broadcasting building, New York City. The bells you hear are ringing to warn the people to evacuate the city as Martians approach. Estimated in the last 2 hours, 3 million people have moved out along the roads to the north. Hutchinson River Parkway is still kept open for motor traffic. Boyd bridges to Long Island hopelessly jammed. All communication with Jersey Shore closed 10 minutes ago. No more defenses. Our army is wiped out. Artillery, Air Force, everything wiped out. Maybe the last broadcast. We'll stay here to the end.
People are holding service here below us in the cathedral.
Are y'all guys able to hear? Are you hearing me? Give me a 5x5 if you can hear me. A couple of people were saying they couldn't hear. Very well could be, YouTube censorship. Because if you're a good liar, you get to speak to the world. If you're a good truth teller, you get shut down. You get censored. All right, so we're 5x5 again. All right, so we'll keep going. But you get what I'm saying. It's the truth. Liars get broadcast worldwide. Truth tellers, well, you know my story. You know your story.
Now I look down the harbor, all manner of boats, overloaded with fleeing population, pulling out from docks. Streets are all jammed. Noise and crowds like New Year's Eve in city. Wait a minute, the enemy's now in sight above the palisades. Five great machines. First one is crossing the river. I can see it from here, wading the Hudson like a man wading through a brook. A bulletin is handed me. Martian cylinders are falling all over the country. One outside of Buffalo, one in Chicago, St. Louis. Seem to be timed and spaced. Now the first machine reaches the shore. He stands watching, looking over the city. Steel cowlish head is even with the skyscrapers. He waits for the others. Rise like a line of new towers on the city's west side. Now they're lifting their metal hands. This is the end now. Smoke comes out, black smoke drifting over the city. People in the streets see it now. They're running toward the East River, thousands of them, dropping in like rats. Now the smoke's spreading faster. It's reached Times Square. People are trying to run away from it, but it's no use. They're falling like flies. The smoke's crossing 6th Avenue. 5th Avenue. 100 yards away. It's 50 feet.
All men, I've seen your message come in from the Beyond the Veil, and you quoted a Bible verse, I think, about all men being liars. I know I have been. We've all told lies. We've all been deceived. Even things we believe to be truths now, if we were to speak them, we would be telling lies. Because we don't all know the truth completely, do we? So if we speak this language that we've been told, we may be speaking deceptions, lies, and spell castings without even being aware. We are in sin. This world is a duality, dark versus light, sin world. But you also have the opportunity to chase the light. And that's what we're seeking to do. That's what we are doing. Will we ever catch it? I pray so.
Stains can run, but they can't hide. From Shark Stain Force, the best tough stain.
2X2L calling CQ. 2X2L calling CQ. 2X2L calling CQ, New York. Isn't there anyone on the air? Isn't there anyone on the air? Isn't there anyone? 2X2L.
Yeah, guys know that I've talked about that I and others, a lot of people know that they're coming ultimately with a worldwide deception. This was a limited, local, somewhat experiment, probably mainly in the Northeast United States. But how are people going to react when they see the things that are coming? Where are we at? How much better are we now than we were during these days when people believed this was real? How clear are our eyes now compared to then, or compared to even, when we were young and maybe children, or maybe even 5 years ago? Are we able yet to see the truth? Are we able to decide between what is dark and what is light? Will we be able to stand against the current of emotional, crazed people on fire, running like flocks to and fro when the events that are coming come? Unfortunately, they're not going to stop. The only thing we can stop is us. We have the choice and the ability to stop ourselves and to not participate. Although your family, maybe even your children, maybe even your mother, will try to drag you and beg and scream and holler, you have to do this or you're going to die. And when you speak your truth to them, they're going to think you're crazy. Or they don't know that they are the crazy ones. They're unaware, lost in emotion.
You are listening to a CBS presentation of Orson Welles and the Mercury Theater on the Air in an original dramatization of The War of the Worlds by H.G. Wells. Performance will continue after a brief intermission. This is the Columbia Broadcasting System. The War of the Worlds by H.G. Wells, starring Orson Welles and the Mercury Theater on the Air.
As I set down these notes on paper, I'm obsessed by the thought that I may be the last living man on Earth. I've been hiding in this empty house near Grover's Mill, a small island of daylight cut off by the black smoke from the rest of the world. All that happened before the arrival of these monstrous creatures in the world now seems part of another life.
So, visitor 9703, when are you going to start logging in, my brother or my sister? Because I don't know what you are. I'm glad you're there. But why not set yourself up a free account at least, so that way when you're chatting with me, I know who you are. I only remember your number 9703 because you've chatted with me so much from the website. So anyways, I'm just suggesting. You don't have to. Again, we're the ones that have to make our choices for ourselves. We can't allow ourselves to be pressured by others, even though maybe the other pressure is the right decision. Ultimately, we, meaning ourselves, have to make the choice as to what our path is, because we are the ones that will suffer the consequences physically, or potentially even our souls are at risk.
A life that has no continuity with the present. Furtive existence of the lonely derelict who pencils these words on the back of some astronomical notes bearing the signature of Richard Pearson. Look down at my blackened hand. Try to connect them with a professor who lives at Princeton and who, on the night of October 20th, glimpsed through his telescope an orange splash of light on a distant planet. My wife, my colleagues, my students, my books, my observatory, my world. Where are they? Did they ever exist? Am I Richard Pearson? What day is it? Do days exist without calendars? Does time pass when there are no human hands left to wind the clocks? Writing down my daily life, I tell myself I shall preserve human history between the dark covers of this little book that was meant to record the movements of the stars. But right, I must live, and to live I must eat. Find moldy bread in the kitchen and an orange not too spoiled to swallow. Keep watch at the window. Time to time I catch sight of a Martian above the black smoke. Smoke still holds the house in its black coil, but at length there's a hissing sound, and suddenly I see a Martian mounted on his machine, spraying the air with a jet of steam as if to dissipate the smoke. I watch in a corner as his huge metal legs nearly brush against the house. Exhausted by terror, I fall asleep. Morning. Morning. Sun streams in the window. A black cloud of gas is lifted, and the scorched meadows to the north look as though a black snowstorm had passed over. I venture from the house. I make my way to a road, no traffic. Here and there, a wrecked car, baggage overturned, a blackened skeleton. Push on north. For some reason, I feel safer trailing these monsters than running away from them. And I keep a careful watch. I've seen the Martians feed. Should one of their machines appear over the top of trees, I'm ready to fling myself flat on the earth. Come to a chestnut tree. Chestnuts are ripe. Fill my pockets. Fine. 2 days I wander in a vague northerly direction through a desolate world. Finally, I notice a living creature. A small red squirrel in a beech tree. I stare at him and wonder. He stares back at me. I believe at that moment the animal and I shared the same emotion. Joy of finding another living being. Push on north. I find dead cows in a brackish field, and beyond the charred ruins of a dairy and silo, I stand guard over the wasteland like a lighthouse. Deserted by the sea. Astride the silo perches a weathercock. The arrow points north. North. Next day I come to a city. City vaguely familiar in its contours, yet its buildings strangely dwarfed and leveled off as if a giant had sliced off its highest towers with a capricious sweep of his hand. Reached the outskirts, I found Newark. Newark, undemolished but humbled by some whim of the advancing Martians. Presently, with an odd feeling of being watched, I caught sight of something crouching in a doorway. I made a step towards it. It rose up and became a man. Man armed with a large knife.
Stop.
I come from many places. A long time ago from Princeton.
Princeton. Near Grover's Mill.
Yes.
Grover's Mill. There's no food here. This is my country. All this end of town down the river. There's only food for one. Which way you going?
I don't know. I guess I'm looking for people.
What was that? You hear something just then?
No, only a bird. A live bird.
Get to know that birds have shadows these days. Hey, we're in the open here. Let's crawl in this doorway here and talk.
Have you seen any Martians?
Ah. They're going over to New York. Night, the sky's alive with their lights, just as if people were still living. Daylight, you can't see them. 5 days ago, a couple of them carried something big across the flats from the airport. I think they're learning how to fly.
Fly?
Yeah.
Diana, since you're in Charleston, Diana says she's in Charleston, South Carolina part-time. You can go see my great-great-great-great-grandfather's house. His name was Daniel Alexander Cannon. It's right downtown, close to the hospital. And it's called the Daniel Cannon House. You can look it up online. He was a freedom fighter, just like I am. And he was he used to go, when the Tea Party happened in Boston, or some things like that. I can't say if it was the Tea Party for sure, but he went horseback door to door telling people the truth of the best he knew, warning them of what was going on. So you can go check out my house if you want to. Look it up online, the Daniel Cannon House in Charleston, South Carolina. And it has signs all over that house. I've done shows on it in the last 2 weeks. Did a show on it, at least. Pretty interesting, the story and how it matches up so much with me, and how he incorporated designs of the Taurus and other things into the house, the world, WHRLED world. Yeah, very interesting.
Fly. It's all over with humanity. Stranger, there's still you and I. 2 of us left.
They got themselves in solid. They wrecked the greatest country in the world. Those green stars, they're probably falling somewhere every night. They've only lost one machine. There isn't anything to do. We're done. We're licked.
Where were you? You're in a uniform.
Yeah, what's left of it. I was in the militia. National Guard. That's good. There wasn't any war. Any more than there's war between men and ants.
Yes, but we're eatable ants. I found that out. What'll they do to us?
I felt it all out. Right now, we're caught as we're wanted. The Martian only has to go a few miles to get a crowd on the run. If they won't keep on doing that, they'll begin catching us systematic, like keeping the best and storing us in cages and things. They haven't begun on us yet.
Not begun?
Not begun.
Funny how they played all this out, right? Very interesting. That's why I kind of wanted to go back and re-listen to it. And because it's tied to where we're at now again. And the key is simply the full armor of God, if you understand what that is. Breastplate of righteousness, belt of truth. You know, making sure that you wear it and figure out how to get it tied on you, because it will allow you to walk right through these things. You'll be free through these things. And guess what? Even in the worst times, when people are even maybe dying around you, fires and bombs or anything crazy, it doesn't matter. Our Father is all powerful and will send his angels to protect you. He's already shown me in my lifetime that he can and does do that. He can pull you out of instant death. He can stop time and change directions of things. all things. The sooner we all realize this, the less we'll have any fear of anything that might come. I encourage you all to realize this, to seek it if you don't realize it, and to covet it if you do. It's the one thing that gives me the bravery that I have, knowing that Father is so close and that his angels are here with us. Not some fairy tale angel. Real angels are here with us continuously, all the time, not just sometime. And Father has full command over all things. And all he wants you to do, all he wants us to do, is to seek the truth. The fear of man bringeth a snare, but whoso putteth his trust in the Lord shall be safe. I'm going to end the broadcast here today on a positive note of that. Walk in no fear. Choose your own directions. Choose your own destiny. And seek that truth to follow. Seek that righteousness to follow. It doesn't mean you have to be perfect, because you can't in an imperfect world. None of us can. But just seeking it has saved my life many times and has allowed me to be here to talk to you today. There is nothing to fear but fear itself, someone once said, and it happens to be true. So when these things continue to happen, and they will, just know the truth. Know who you are. Know who your Father is and how close he is. He's there all the time. You're never alone. I love you. And we'll see you tomorrow again.
I've got one that can see.